Man.
I said all good in you.
Great, man. It's been an interesting week of cricket, bit of shocks, and yeah, let's start sharing the screen here quickly. Okay, let's go to. Oh yeah, it is okay. Oh yeah, yeah. It is. Okay, let me know if you can see the screen. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, as you can see, Sri Lanka won the toss for the third time in the series. They made 248 for 7. India were bundled out for 138. And the play of the match was Avishka Fernando, who made 96 runs. And Dunit Velagate 8 runs. Then he got 7 wickets.
Velalage.
He was the
Yeah.
play of the series. Oh, okay. And then he's the player of the series. And then, well, what can I say, man? I'm pretty much in shock that imagine a team like India who used to be so good against spin crumbling like this against spin. That's pretty diabolical. I'm sure the great generation of Indian players must be like, digging in their graves, man. It's terrible. What do you think, man?
Yeah, man, it was quite a surprise to see India struggle the way they did struggle, especially as you say in that third ODI. I mean, if you had to ask me before the series, I mean, what the prediction would have been,
Mm-hmm.
probably I'd say so much in favor of India because I mean they've had such a good record against Sri Lanka in recent times, and obviously on spin friendly tracks, India will always back themselves. But I've been so impressed with the way Sri Lanka came out in these last two games. I mean, the last time we chatted, I think we were discussing that tied game, which I think
Hmm.
Sri Lanka could have won as well. And we could have easily been seeing a whitewash here for India. But I mean, that second game, they put up a score. I mean, you wouldn't have thought it was going to be a winning score, but it was a score that the bowlers had something to bowl to. And then India, I mean,
Hmm.
starting off so well against Sri Lanka in that chase, 97 for none, they completely collapsed. They completely collapsed in that game. I think the middle order has let India down badly in this series. Sid. Some
Hmm.
of those middle order players. I was surprised that a guy like Sky wasn't, given any opportunities in this middle order. They opted for KL Rahul instead and Shreyas
Yeah.
Iyer. But
Hmm.
I think probably they could have tried a few things. And even this experiment with Rian Parag actually didn't work out in terms of the batting because I mean Rian Parag was
Hmm.
obviously there to win games with the bat. Am I
Yeah.
right? Not to
Yeah.
obviously take wickets, but I mean he does offer that with his bowling result. But I think he was actually like selected to be a finisher in a way, and it didn't work out. So I was a bit surprised with some of India's selections. But obviously,
Hmm.
they're just trying to experiment now and find out how things are. But I mean, this is a massive win for Sri Lanka. Let's be honest. I
Hmm.
mean, 27
Yeah.
years in the making.
Hmm.
It's been a long time since they've been in India and bilaterals. And I was actually surprised that it's been so long, eh? But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, uh, the bowling. I mean, two players that have stood out for me. I think Van der Sar in that second game, he
Hmm.
was superb. That 7 wicket haul, he was
Hmm.
absolutely amazing. I mean, it's sometimes unplayable. Jeffrey Van der
Hmm.
Sar, and then Velalage was
Hmm.
superb. I mean, all round display in the series. But I mean, that 5 wicket haul in that fifth game is as good as you're going to get at this level, eh? So fantastic performance from Sri Lanka. India, kind of back to the drawing board for them in a way, but
Hmm.
I think they're just trying to build to that Champions Trophy, which is next year. So you're not always going to have it your own way. You're going to be losing series along the way as well, and that's part of the experiment. But I would have liked them to probably given Sky a few games there. It would have been interesting to see. But
Yeah, I was
they
reading.
went the other route. Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually reading that Sky actually wants to. Okay, I just saw a headline here. Let me see if I can find it quickly. I don't know if you can see what I'm actually doing here. I'm just scrolling here because there was a headline here on ESPN. Oh, yeah, it is over here. Actually, this is one actually mentioned about Test comeback, but he also mentioned about he wants to play an all format for India here. So what do you think about that? Eh?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, a player that's waited so long for his opportunity in this Indian side, I think he wants to maximize his playing time. For the remainder of his career, get as much cricket as possible.
Hmm.
But the thing is with India, they kind of see him more as a T20 player, which is a bit
Hmm.
surprising in
Hmm.
a way because I think he does have something to offer in the ODI team as well, Sid. And as you say, there was some inconsistent performances
Mm-hmm.
in the series by some of the batters.
Hmm.
But I mean, you got to look at these players. You got to look at these players come the tournament. I think you would come the next tournament. You got to have experience, and you've got to. I would say 2 months before that tournament, you got to know what your starting 11 is going to be. So they need to look at it in that way and find out what works best for them. But I think the series has shown which players that they can hang on to and which players which players they can
Mm-hmm.
trust and which players obviously need a little bit more time. But there were a few players on that SA tour as well that performed quite well. Hey, Sanju Samson, um, Sudarshan. I thought he played well when he opened the batting for India in that ODI series. So they can look at players like that as well. So I mean,
Hmm.
in that middle order as well. So the India do have a lot of options. So it's just about finding the right combinations. And I think in this series, unfortunately, they didn't get it right.
Yeah, I kind of blame Gautam Gambhir for this, and I tell you why. Because he wanted Rohit Sharma and Kohli to play when those two had decided to take a break, because they had just won the T20 World Cup. But I don't know. I feel Gautam Gambhir's methods seem to be a bit too hectic. So I think he needs to do what Rahul Dravid used to do, like let it be such that the main players can have a rest. Because India plays so much cricket as it is. So I think Gautam Gambhir needs to keep things, not too tough. So but I think India, and I know you said Sri Lanka could have won this 3-0, but I think India could have won the series 2-1 because India had the opportunity and they started so well. And the scores weren't so high, so they just needed to play common sense cricket. They're going at such high run rates when they started. If they just had gone to like maybe 3 to even 4 runs and over after starting at 7 runs and over, they would have easily won these matches. But I mean, easily they would have just won by the 40th over, stuff like that. So I think India just didn't apply basic fundamentals, and I think it cost them in this series. But it's okay. I guess you're okay. You're allowed to lose one series in the blue moon, even if it's to Sri Lanka. So hopefully they bounce back. That's what I can say in a nutshell.
I think they were too casual. I think they were a bit too casual with the bat. They
Hmm.
yes, as
Hmm.
you said, they could have applied more discipline, especially chasing these totals down. I think when you're talking about these totals, 240, 235. I mean, it all takes one big innings, and it takes a
Yeah.
few batters to bat around them. And
Yeah.
yeah, as you said, the basics they didn't apply the basics well. But I mean, you're
Yeah.
talking about Rohit Sharma, and not playing in the series. I mean, God knows what the scores would have been if Rohit Sharma had not been there. Because I thought Rohit Sharma was one of those batters that actually got to grips with these pitches, as opposed to the other batsmen. So I mean, who knows? Who knows? It could have worked out. It couldn't have worked out. But I mean, the majority of the Indian batters struggled on these pitches.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. But anyway, that's yeah, man. The series feels a bit more like a funeral, being an Indian fan. But credit to Sri Lanka. So we can. So if you're okay to move on, we'll get to the Test cricket because I know that's the exciting bit for you. So let's move on to that. I'm actually trying to. Oh, sure, but sorry about that. Trying to move to
Sure,
the
sure.
screen, but for some reason my screen has actually turned black on me. So it's okay. Have you been actually? I didn't watch so. Okay, hold on a second. Let me just go to this tab here instead. Okay, okay, now do you see it? Okay, SA made 357 for 357 all out, and West Indies are 145 for four. At one stage, they were doing really well, West Indies, on a really boring pitch, man. I've never seen such a boring pitch in my life. Okay, but I have. I mean, in Pakistan, I mean, they are the king of boring pitches, but That pitch really looked like it was not doing much. And then all of a sudden, I see they were actually, oh yeah, it is. They started at 1 for 53. Then they were doing all right until they got to the 114, and then they just had a mini collapse there. So, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, disappointing that the weather has played so much of spoil sport in this game. I mean,
Hmm. Hmm.
it was a test match I was looking forward to, Sid. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
SA hasn't played a lot of test cricket this year, but this was going to be a big series for them in terms of getting up the table and stuff in the WTC.
Hmm.
But I
Hmm.
mean, you can't control the weather. I mean, 15 overs in that
Yeah.
first day.
Hmm. Yeah.
That was disappointing. And then we got a full day's play on the second day, 98
Yeah.
overs. We managed to get all of them in, and then yesterday again, spoiled spot. So I think this venue has been noted for having rain in previous test matches as well. So yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
I could understand the why they would choose a venue like this, because every other venue in the Caribbean has been bright sunshine, but it is what it is. It's the nature of the weather in these islands, and there's nothing you can do about it. But
Hmm.
I think the only glimmer of hope for SA here at the moment now is if this pitch really starts to misbehave, they can
Hmm.
really put the Windies under a lot of pressure. Day 4, day 5 is not going to be easy batting on this wicket. So I mean,
No.
if the weather plays its part, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
hoping it does, there is a possibility of a result here. But if it doesn't, it's going to be really difficult. Hey, it's going to be really difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. Today is day 4. So the other way about SL is they can win this, and I know it might sound a bit fanciful. They bowl West Indies out within the first session, which will still give them about over 60. Actually, no, I'm lying. It'll give them over 60 overs to bat. So if they can play a bit of baseball with the lead of, let's just be realistic. If they can bowl West Indies out even for 200, they get a lead at 157. So if they can try and bat, yeah, if they can try and do a bit of baseball at 50 overs, right? They're going at around 3 to 4 and then over. They can actually give West Indies at least 100 overs to at least try and save the game, chasing about 300 and something. I think that should be fair. What do you think, man?
No, absolutely. I mean, 300, 350 is going to be really tricky in that final innings. I mean, if
Hmm. Hmm.
it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky because I mean, with the weather, the surface gets damp, and
Hmm.
that's visibly the cracks start to open up. And I think Aiden
Hmm.
Markram will have a job to do with the ball in that fourth innings if we
Hmm.
do get there, and hoping we do get there. So I mean, Keshav, we've seen a bit of spin already. I mean, he took a few wickets last night, and
Yeah.
he could be a real threat in that fourth innings. But as I say, it's all about time and it's all about the weather. I'm just hoping the rain stays away today, and we get at least 90 overs. But yeah, I think SA, if they do manage to bowl the Windies out in that first session, I mean,
Hmm.
wow, that would be quite a bonus, eh? And if you say, I mean, that would probably take around 25 overs to bowl them out. I'd say bat for most 30 overs, and then put them back in. Put them back in before the close of play. If you can put them back in before the close of play,
Yeah.
and sneak out a few wickets, you've got
Hmm.
potentially a full day's cricket tomorrow to bowl them out, which I think is the
Yeah.
perfect scenario at the moment. So I
Yeah.
think that's how they should
Otherwise,
go about it, Sid. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, if they only have 10 wickets at the West Indies, then it's going to be a dead draw. So you got to at least pick up 2 wickets. Then, yeah, 8 wickets becomes much more easier, you know?
absolutely, absolutely. But you do need some luck as well. So hoping they do get it as well with the weather. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's the one area I can see them winning this game. I mean, I really can't fault the batting in a way, because I mean they've there were a few starts there which is a bit disappointing for me that they didn't convert.
Hmm.
I mean, Dzozi,
Hmm.
I mean, he looks so good. He could have scored a 100 on this wicket, yeah. Bavuma looked good until he missed a straight one, but I mean the ball was swinging a bit there, so you got to give the bowler a bit of credit as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, a few thirties that could have been converted into bigger scores. But I mean, 357 is okay. I mean, on a wicket like that, it's quite a formidable score.
Okay.
And I mean, you've already got them 4 down, so Look,
Hmm.
it's just all about going, just going for the jugular today, trying to get them out as quickly as possible, and giving yourself enough time to win this test match. Yeah, they haven't played test cricket for a long time, so I think that's the reason
Yeah.
why there was a bit of rustiness. I could see a bit of rustiness in the bowling as well, Sid, yesterday. I don't know if you took notice of it, but I think as the series goes on, I think the bowlers are going to hit their straps again.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very rare.
Yeah.
It's
It
very
makes
rare to see
sense.
Rabada. Yeah, I say it's very rare to see Rabada go a day without a day test cricket without taking a wicket. So that was a very rare thing for me to see.
Yeah, it seemed like he didn't have that much. He didn't have that zip. But I guess it's not the most exciting pitch. I think Keshav had mentioned over here, if you can read here, it says when the ball goes into the outfield, it becomes a bit soft. So I'm sure you can read what he's saying here.
No, no, I mean, I totally agree. I totally agree with you there. I think the pitch is on the slower side. It's kind of like a subcontinent wicket in a
Hmm.
way,
Hmm.
which I think
Yeah.
I would have liked to have the second spinner, because I think that would
Hmm.
have made things very, very interesting if we selected
Yeah.
a second spinner in this team. But I mean, we opted for an all
Hmm.
rounder in Mulder because we wanted to
Hmm.
obviously strengthen the batting and have three
Yeah.
bowling options. But look, I think the guys have bowled quite economically. They've kept the
Hmm.
West Indies quiet. It's just
Hmm.
that there hasn't been much purchase off the wicket. Now,
Hmm.
as I said, in the one thing that I can see as a positive is if this pitch
Hmm.
starts breaking up in day 4, day 5, it starts
Yeah.
deteriorating. You start seeing the divots,
Hmm.
created. That
Hmm.
is the one way I can see SA winning this Test match, because I mean nobody wants to bet on the fourth innings. Let's be honest, nobody wants to bet last
Yeah.
on any kind of wicket and chasing too many. So I do think the odds are still in SA's favor, but just it all depends on the weather, sir. It all depends on the weather. I'm just hoping, because it's been so frustrating to
Hmm.
watch parts of this Test match as well.
Yeah, man. It's I can only hope that SA can bowl out West Indies out in that first session because, gosh, what you don't want is a dead boring draw. I was actually trying to think now of that. Then I was thinking the only way SA can win is if they just play like how England did against Pakistan in that first test. Remember that match? Look, it was could they be the most boring draw in history, and then England all of a sudden won by giving Pakistan 300 and something. I remember because England was just going all helter skelter, and then yeah, well, that's what I'm kind of hoping that would happen actually in this test match. But I don't know if England, if SA have that ability to do that.
I think you got to be a bit innovative. You got to think out of the box a bit. I think if
Hmm.
you're going to wait for conditions to assist, you've got to take a gamble. You've got to take a gamble. That's why I think 300, 320.
Hmm.
You got to back yourself. You got to back yourself to try and bowl the opposition out in that fourth inning. So I think that should be the game plan. So don't bet for too many overs, because I mean it's all about time. Time is not on your side at the moment. It's day
Yeah.
4, and then tomorrow is day 5, and that's the end of the Test match. So
Hmm.
I think the onus is on SA to push for a result here, and I think they will be conscious of that as well, because the series is quite important in the sense of trying to climb up that table. They haven't had much opportunities because they haven't played much Test cricket. It's been so much of the white ball stuff. So
Hmm.
uh, that is why I would have loved the series to be a 3 Test series as opposed to a 2 Test series. I mean, we're all crying out for these 3 Test series, but we don't seem to get it a lot these days,
Actually,
hey?
we have to blame our administration for that. They've been, settling for two test series because of I think because of that T20 league situation, and I think they were. I don't know. I guess they're in the same boat as West Indies. They just can't host that many tests, because of financial constraints. So that's another topic for another time, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we aware of that. Hey, we aware of that. I think, yeah, I think the SA20, obviously it's 2 years running now. It's going to be in
Hmm.
its third year. There's already some very big faces that are be coming to play for this
Hmm.
these franchises in the next tournament. But that's a
Yeah.
conversation for another day. But yeah, I think going forward, I think SA would probably be opting for 3 Test series, because looking at
Hmm.
at the WTC, there's always going to be something to play for. with regards to these test matches. So yeah, but I mean, if they can get the result in this series 2-0, let's just say hypothetically speaking
Mm-hmm.
2-0,
Mm.
if they can win
Mm.
the series
Yeah.
2-0, you've got Bangladesh, you've got Sri Lanka
Mm.
at home, you've got Pakistan at home.
Mm.
You want to back yourself to win
Mm.
those test matches.
Yeah, Bangladesh, I feel will be a tricky test series. I don't think it'll be that easy. Bangladesh are a bit difficult at home, but you never know.
I
If we
also
can,
also don't think it's going to be that easy. I also don't think I think that series is probably going to be the toughest challenge of all those
mm,
because coming back home, you probably fancy your chances against those
yeah,
two opponents. But I mean, in Bangladesh, in their conditions, yeah, it is going to be tricky, no doubt about it. And we haven't toured there in
um,
a while as well, so yeah, conditions
mhm.
probably could have changed. Uh, you know, from since the last time we've been there, I can't remember the last time I say went to Bangladesh. So it's been such a long time ago.
Ish, man, Bangladesh conditions are like Sri Lankan conditions, radical turners, man. That's why the cricket is so like not there because when the two are outside of Bangladesh, then they start playing on proper conditions where they got variety. But anyway, that's also another topic for another time on pitches, our favorite talking point. Ish, man, it's tiring, man. Pitches.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a bit over the top at times, eh? And I think it obviously, as you say, it diminishes their chances going overseas because their batters don't get an opportunity to play on good wickets. I think the most important thing is that we're looking for good wickets,
Mhm.
wickets that can last the
Mm.
whole test match. I mean, we don't want matches that are going to end in 2.5, 3 days. And obviously, those we always we always look at the wickets in Australia. I think those are some of the
Mm.
best wickets, and
Yeah, and New
even in
Zealand.
England as well. Yeah, I mean, in New Zealand and England as well, the wickets are quite decent. They're quite decent. I
Mm.
don't want to
Yeah,
I don't
then
want to talk
the
too much
yeah,
about I don't want to talk too much
yeah,
about
yeah.
Indian pitches at the moment, but I thought the last series that India hosted uh, England were quite decent pitches. I thought there was some good cricket there. So
Oh,
yeah,
those
I
pitches
mean
were
that's
unlike, yeah, yeah. Those were the best pitches I thought India actually produced, in a while.
absolutely there should be no complaints about that series, how that series went. So I think that's
Uh,
what we are looking for. But I mean, look, if you're a home team,
mhm,
I guess at times it's only fair for you to prepare pitches that's going to suit your team's strengths. But
mm,
I think with regards to Pakistan, Bangladesh, it's too much in
mhm,
favor of their bowlers and especially their spin bowlers. I think a lot of times Bangladesh, when you see them playing at home, they only play with one seamer and they're playing with three or
mm,
four spinners. So
mhm,
I mean, you know
mhm.
the story there. I don't have to explain that to you.
Yeah, I do remember one series when Bangladesh played, I think Afghanistan, they prepared seaming pitches, which was good, at least they are trying to diversify, which I'm okay. If you have an Asian playing against an Asian, then prepare seaming pitches because you'll probably give yourself a better chance because Asian teams should be good against spin against one another. And then if you're having Asian against Western, then I'm okay with spinning. As long as you diversify the
I don't
pitches,
know if
that's
you
fine.
noticed. I don't know if you noticed in the
Uh-huh.
past,
Mhm.
Bangladesh pitches were quite flat. They were quite flat in the past in terms of run
Okay.
scoring. There were some massive totals in Bangladesh
Oh
from
yeah,
visiting
yeah.
teams, but maybe
Yeah.
Bangladesh weren't that good as in terms of their bowling attack as well. But definitely the pitches were a lot better than what we're seeing now. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah. No, I remember, yeah.
yeah.
I
So
hmm.
something has to change. I think we're just looking about a little bit of fairness in terms of the contest. That's all we want. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when Graham Smith was captain. I remember Jock Rudolph, I think, made a double century on the good old days going to Bangladesh,
Yes,
and Dale
yes,
Steyn did well. So yeah, they did. Mhm.
Smith and McKenzie, Neil McKenzie, they put on 414 for the opening wicket. So those were really good wickets to bat on.
Uh,
Good old
I
days,
think
eh?
Yeah, I'm just thinking maybe this test championship table and the pressure for teams to try and win matches and get points has kind of made them come out with all these radical pitches. And I think Bangladesh were under pressure to produce results. I think the cricket board were feeling the pinch because the public weren't happy. So hence these radical pitches came out. And I think India also went through that phase when India lost a one-day series to South Africa, and then I think Hashim Amla was captain of the Test team, and then yet he lost that series pretty badly to India, and then the poor guy retired as captain, retired. He resigned as captain during the England series. So poor guy. He wasn't a bad captain at all. But anyway, yeah, that's how it goes.
I think Hash was such an artist with what he was doing. I think just keep him as the batsman. I think just don't put any other added pressure on a guy like Hash because he was such an amazing player. Uh, yeah, I mean, look, I've been very critical of this WTC. You know, in the sense that there's not an even distribution of Test matches. So how can you really call it a championship in the sense? I think a
Yeah.
championship, when you're talking about it in a football sense or any other sport for that matter, rugby, it's
Yeah.
always teams getting equal amounts of matches and just. I think in that respect you can grasp who's the best. But my only concern there is scheduling. I mean, how much of time is it going to take for us to schedule those amount of Test matches in this already clustered kind of calendar that we do have with the
Yeah.
T20 leagues and the IPL. So it's such a tricky one, and this is the debate we have about Test cricket going forward. I mean, in terms of how profitable it is for other nations, and I think it's the onus is definitely on the big three to make it relevant in the sense, because I mean, let's be honest, sir, it's not going to be fun if England, Australia, and India play against each other all the time. Is that going to be fun? I don't think so. It's not going to be fun, eh? So
Yeah, what they should
we
have is a test. Yeah. Pardon?
yeah, I mean, it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun, but I mean, like you said previously
Yeah, yeah,
about
yeah.
CSA, only agreeing to host 2 Test series. Yeah, financially as well, because I mean, it does cost a lot to host Test matches in terms of accommodation, in terms of meals, etc. There's so much that needs to go into it, the planning. So yeah, but I
Yeah,
do
that's too
think that
much, man,
that's
into
where
the.
the money needs to be. The money, yeah, but I mean, Sid, let's be honest. When has cricket been such a profitable game? This is the year where there's been more than enough money in the game of cricket than previous eras. Let's be honest. I mean, the T20 has really boosted, cricket's pockets. So there is money going around. You can redistribute these finances to nations that do need it. I mean, traditional chess playing nations like South Africa, Zealand, that have been around for a long time as well. So I think it's all about redistributing the finances in a way where T20 can thrive, but the Test matches and the pinnacle of the game, which is Test cricket, can also thrive as well and can survive in these climates.
I just think
Yeah.
we should. I think we should rather have either one, a Test Cricket World Cup. I think Michael Vaughan also advocates for that, or we should have Test Triangular Series, which would be much more fun. Imagine having India, Australia, and South Africa in a Test Triangular Series. That could be fun, man.
Ooh, that's really fun now. That is real fun. I mean, boy, I mean, you could have day-night Test matches with those kind of fixtures as well. That would really ping it. And yeah, I mean, look, day-night Test matches with the ping ball is one of the ways to get crowds back into the into the mainstream of Test cricket. So I think we've just got to go with the times. If day-night Test matches is the way to go, we go for it.
But problem is with day-night Test cricket, I think that's a bit more. I think it'll be a bit more expensive, depending on which match they hold. Yeah, obviously, if you have a good team like Australia and South Africa playing, or Australia, India, then yeah, that's a profitable exercise for day-night Test cricket. But I wouldn't really advocate it if you have the lower teams playing, like for example, Afghanistan or Ireland playing day-night Test cricket. I think those matches should rather be for the day. Hey?
Yeah, I mean, getting back to Ireland and Afghanistan, I mean, look at those teams. They don't even have a say in this World Test Championship because they play so little Test cricket,
That's
and
why I
it's a
advocate for
shame.
a
It's a shame in a way.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I advocate for a Test Cricket World Cup, because even like if you have a Test Cricket World Cup, you don't have to have one match at a time, like one match this day, one match. No, you can have many matches playing at the same time in a Test Cricket World Cup. It just means not many of them will be televised naturally, but you don't have to have all matches televised. You could have, like, for example, SA. If SA are the host nation of the first Test ever Cricket World Cup, then you could have SA's matches being hosted, Indian matches being hosted, Australia's matches being hosted, England's matches being hosted, etc. We keep it to that. You don't have to host any one nations. Well, you could add Pakistan to the mix because Pakistan also generates an audience. But you know what I'm saying. You don't need to host every team that plays their matches in the Test Cricket Championship. So I don't know if you advocate for what I'm saying. And then you don't need all grounds to have DRS. Just for the main teams that play, like India, Australia, England, South Africa. Well, let's say would be the host nation, so you need DRS for them. But other than that, you don't need DRS for every single match. What do you think?
Look, look, I think it's something that could work, hey, but it's just about the scheduling. I mean, where we going to get the time to actually host this kind of thing? But yeah, I mean, how long is a World Cup like that going to take to host? I mean, given the calendar that's already so, you know, saturated and compressed with. I mean, basically we've got an ICC tournament every year now, eh? We've got an
Yeah.
ICC tournament every year now. I mean, we've got the
Mm.
the Champions Trophy, we've got the T20 World Cup, and we've got the 50 over World Cup in 2027. I mean, as cricket fans, we're kind of blessed in the sense that we've got a tournament every year. Uh, but I mean, it is a good idea. I'm not taking anything away from the idea, but it's just about the
Mm.
duration of those matches. I,
I
I
think
like
I
your
think
I
pardon?
like your other idea of triangulars. I think that could really work. That could work. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you could also get Ireland and Afghanistan in the mix in a test triangular. Like, for example, if you have it in South Africa, you could bring Ireland in. So imagine what good experience for them playing SA and Australia. And then that would be
I'm
very nice.
also looking at this thing from from a bird's eye view, and I see some old school
Hmm.
rivalry as well, where teams are actually not prioritizing the WTC, and actually they're prioritizing series, and England is one of them. If you look at England, I mean, their main focus is on the Ashes at the moment in 2025. Let's be honest.
Mm. Of course,
I
yeah.
mean, now you're talking about the Ashes. The Ashes is a whole different dimension into this Chess Championship. We've got the
Mm.
WTC, and then we've got the oldest rivalry in cricket, which is the Ashes. That's obviously taking place,
Hmm.
uh, in away from the WTC as well. So
Mm.
look, it's something that the ICC needs to look at. But again, it goes back down to money, and obviously test matches cost a lot of money to host. I just think
Mm.
the redistribution of the wealth
Mm.
in the ICC could help
Hmm.
in the sense it could help.
But then,
It,
but
it
then now that
you know
I think,
teams
yeah.
like New Zealand, teams like Pakistan, teams like
Hmm. Hmm.
SA could thrive from that.
But the good thing about SA hosting a Test Cricket World Cup is that if you have a lot of nations, it'll be good for tourism, and also I think also all the grounds in South Africa could be used, like Potchefstroom, Bloemfontein, and those grounds could be used for the lower nations being playing there, like Sri Lanka against Bangladesh, for example, or you have Afghanistan against who was the other lower grade nation?
Ireland, Ireland,
No, no,
Ireland,
already. No, I think I mentioned that already, didn't I?
Zimbabwe. We didn't mention
No, the Zimbabwe
Zimbabwe.
does. No, the Zimbabwe doesn't play Test cricket, man. They're out of it now.
They do. They have played they did play a test match recently against
Against
Ireland.
who?
Against Ireland.
Really?
Yeah, go
Haribhai. I
check that
didn't
up. Go
know
check
that.
that up. Yeah, they did.
Okay,
So
fine.
yeah,
But
I
then,
mean,
okay, yeah. I just think it needs to be done, eh? And it can be done. The Chris Cricket World Cup. Because if you have many matches playing at the same time, more matches can be done quicker. It could be done actually within a few months, which is okay. 2 months can be easily done. I just think it's a mind over matter thing with the ICC because, fine, if ASIC couldn't host it because of finances, then host it in Blim in India, man. India's got the resources, they got the money. India has enough cricket grounds. So, yeah, they're scared. I mean, if teams may not be comfortable with hosting it, I'm sure India wouldn't mind. Be good for their tourism as well and be good for their TV rights for some matches. I just think it's a mind over matter thing, buddy. ICC can do it, man. I mean, it's all down to mindset, eh?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you ask yourself the question: how did we get into this situation where the
Hmm.
big three are playing so many test matches, and
Hmm.
and the rest of the teams are playing so little? It's down to
Yeah.
finances. It's down to TV rights. I think the big three
Hmm.
they're controlling the TV rights in terms of viewership, and let's be honest, majority of cricket's revenue comes from TV rights, Sid, not from people in the stadium, not from spectators. It's people like you and me,
Hmm.
sitting in the middle
Hmm.
of a TV screen and watching those
Yeah.
matches. That's where
Yeah.
the TV. That's where the money comes from. That is where the
Hmm.
money comes from. Broadcast rights. Broadcast rights,
Hmm.
Sid. Yeah. And I think that needs to
Yeah.
be redistributed as well.
Yeah. Problem is, 90% of the revenue comes from India. That's why I always say, if India, I mean, if Sri Lanka, I mean, if China and America took to cricket, it would be really good for the game because it's not
Do
really,
you,
as
do you,
much as
do
I
you,
love
do you think
India,
do you
I
think
just don't think it's
America do you
healthy
think
that as
America
a
would ever
cricket
take to Test
nation.
cricket? Do you think America would ever take to Test cricket?
Oh, yeah. No, no, I don't know what I was thinking. I think they could take the old to T20 cricket. I think the T20 cricket, yes. Test cricket will take a long time, man. It'll probably be when I'm dead. But I think T20 cricket they can take too. 50 over cricket may take a while, but T20 cricket definitely. Imagine if China took to cricket. Look at that billion population, man. That'd be nice. In fact,
Unfortunately, yeah, it's unfortunately if China and USA took to cricket, we would have been talking about the global game now. I mean, two of the big economies in the world taking up the sport that we love.
mhm,
And I mean,
mhm,
look at Europe as well, Sid. I mean, some of those powerhouses in Europe, the likes of your France, your Italy's, your Spain, Germany's.
mhm,
I mean, look
mhm,
at those
mhm, mhm,
countries. If they took up the game of cricket, we could have been talking about a
mhm,
global game here. And unfortunately, it's obviously played in the Commonwealth. It's Cricket has been deemed a Commonwealth sport. It is what it is. But
yeah.
I mean, it's not to say that we don't love the game. We still love the game. But again, I don't want cricket and especially Test match cricket to become a sport where it's only going to be dictated by the top three or the big three, as we call them, because I think that's going to be
Mhm.
sad for the game. And
Yeah, man.
the only way other teams can obviously challenge the big three is if they play more
Mhm.
cricket. And the only way you can
Mhm.
get better is if you play more cricket. And if you give
Ah,
SA more test matches, they're definitely going to get better. If you give Pakistan more test matches, they're definitely going to get better. And the same can
ah.
be said about New Zealand and Sri Lanka. So you do get where I'm going here, eh?
The simple solution is have a Test Cricket World Cup and make it happen. That's the only way around it. I mean, you do triangulars,
Abs-
but then how the hell are they going to get triangulars done at this moment in time for Test cricket? I mean, you can get it
So,
done, but it's just very complicated. So Test
so
Cricket World Cup is the way to go. It's simpler.
okay,
Everybody
okay.
play once, another once.
So
Yeah,
so
it's
let's say
simple.
we go for this test World Cup kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
That means the WTC gets disbanded. Am I right? We're not going to have a WTC anymore.
Definitely. Why have it when you can have everybody playing
Absolutely.
once another
So
once?
I
Have
mean,
it every 3 years, maybe not 2 years. Have it every 3 years. But then I guess the
so
complication story will be how will teams prepare for a Test Cricket World Cup if they haven't got any tests under their legs? But I guess with the Test Cricket World Cup, you will get money. You'll get matches under your feet because you're playing 13 matches, I guess, or 10 matches.
no,
So
absolutely,
maybe
sir,
it could
absolutely.
work. Hmm.
So I mean, Michael Vaughan, by what Michael
Hmm.
Vaughan is saying is quite interesting. So
Hmm.
basically, what he's trying to say is this WTC is not working out at all.
I don't think he
That's
said
the kind
that.
of idea I'm getting. That's the kind of idea I'm getting here now from
I
Michael
guess
Vaughan.
it's. Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's not working out, and I think you and me have spoken about this quite some on quite some length. I mean, if you look at Australia, England, India, they're probably playing like 15 matches in the last 2 years, and then you've got SA, New Zealand, Pakistan, West Indies, who probably play like 20 among them. In the last 2 years, as
Yeah, I've
opposed to
seen a
those
few
teams that
though,
are
eh?
playing like 15 matches. You know,
Mm.
uh,
Yeah.
you know, 15 matches that they're playing amongst themselves. So
Mm.
that's quite a disparity in the sense of the way test matches have been
Yeah, yeah.
distributed. But yeah, it is what it is, and it's obviously come down to finances. COVID hasn't done COVID hasn't made it any easier. Let's be honest. When
But
COVID
then,
came in, I mean,
yeah.
the cricket boards were really in financial turmoil, and CSA as well. So I think I had Graham Smith speak a few weeks ago at Lords as well,
Hmm.
and he said that the main thing about the SA20 is to get SA cricket strong again. So
Mm.
in that way, he means, and if you look at Graham Smith, definitely he was very upset that a second string side went to New Zealand and participated in that
Mm.
in that series.
Mm.
So obviously he wants to get SA cricket going again, and I think obviously financially as well. And I think if they make finances and if they get their financial record up to standards,
Hmm.
then they can host
Hmm.
more test matches. And I'm hoping we get the big three to actually come and play a lot more test cricket in SA. I think the likes of Australia, the likes of England. I'm hoping in the next cycle that we do get these teams coming down and touring, because
Mm.
they definitely
Mm.
will be a lot more what you call spotlight on them. There'll be a lot more television audience when those teams come down,
Mm.
because those are big
Mm.
rivalries. So I'm hoping we get that.
Yeah. Problem is, if you have India playing a triangular, every team is going to want India in a triangular in their series. So it's just never going to end, man. But I think the more practical solution I see is that triangular test cricket will probably be more of a buy-in from teams than having a test cricket World Cup. But yeah, man,
Look,
this chat can
look,
go on forever, man.
look. India have done their part. India have done their part in terms of helping teams out, going and touring. I was so
That's
disappointed
true.
that series we had last Christmas here in SA. The Test series was only 2 Test matches, because I think if it was a
Yeah,
three
well.
Test match series, it would have been wonderful. I mean, we all know what happened in Cape Town. We don't want to go back on and talk about that pitch, but I mean, I guess I guess when you're talking about Test series, it cannot be
Mm.
less than three. I think the minimum is three. You've got to have at
Mm.
least 3 Test series, and especially in a 3 Test series, you're going to get a result. You're going to get a result somehow.
It
There
just
is
doesn't seem to.
more chances to get a result in a three
Yeah,
Test
yeah,
series than it
yeah,
is
yeah.
in a two. So I'm hoping going
Mm.
forward, three Test
Yeah,
series has got to be a minimum. So we cannot have these 2 Test series. It doesn't make
yeah.
any sense at all. It doesn't make any sense at
I
all.
think I think one of the people in the top echelon of Australian cricket had mentioned about it. I forgot which person in Australia had mentioned it. He also mentioned something like that.
I think it was the CEO, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he
Yeah,
mentioned
I
that.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I remember that conversation.
Yeah, so it seemed like the top people of world cricket are concurring with our views. I know Michael Vaughan's also for Test Triangular Series, so me and Michael Vaughan seem to be on something. So
Yeah. I mean, at least you'll agree on something, which is
yeah,
good.
no, Michael Vaughan seems to have some good points. It just seems like Michael Vaughan seemed a bit sour when it comes to Indian cricket, whenever India seemed to beat England and any other team. So I think he's okay. I mean, at times he makes sense and at times he doesn't make sense. He's a bit on the fence for me. I'm like 50-50 with them. What's 50? I'm like, I'm okay, maybe 60-80%. What do you think with Michael Vaughan?
Yeah, no, obviously, I mean, he's got some good points there, man. I think the most important thing that he's trying to bring out here, and obviously urge the ICC to keep Test cricket alive. That's the main thing, is to keep Test cricket
Yeah, we
alive.
all
And
do, man. We
what
all
the
do, man.
WTC, it doesn't seem to be doing. Look. Let's be honest. The WTC was seen as an experiment as well, Sid. Let's be honest, to actually kind of revive Test cricket. But I
Mm.
feel in a way it's actually kind of hurting the game even more.
Mm.
What do you think?
Um, I'm not sure how to. I don't know if it's. I guess it's become a bit of a boring fest because it's only the top three team that play a lot of test matches, and then the team underneath them are only playing two test matches amongst one another most of the time. So from that sense, it's kind of boring. But then it doesn't help that some of the pitches, like in Pakistan and now in West Indies, are so dead that you kind of like it adds more to the pain. But then I don't know. It's gonna. But this discussion can go on forever, man. But getting back to SA versus West Indies now, what was I gonna tell you now? Oh, sure. But I guess in a nutshell, this match is looking like a draw unless this pitch doesn't break out, man, as you said. So I think it's looking like a predictable draw, but I'm hoping SA can at least bowl them out straight away. I mean, during that morning session before lunch, and then we have a bit of baseball, and then we win it tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, disappointing. It's been the weather, the gods that have actually had the say in the last couple of days, eh? Unfortunately. So yeah, I'm hoping that SA can actually ram home that advantage. I think they just have a slender advantage at the moment with the Windies being 4 down, and try and bowl them out. But the most concerning thing for me on this wicket, Sid, you really
Mhm.
can't blast teams out. It's a wicket that you really got to be patient on. So I think in that regards, it's looking very unlikely that SA is going to get the win and probably going to end in a draw. But I'm hoping that they can push for a win. But I think a draw is looking more likely, hey?
Yeah, sorry for like changing the topic back to SA versus West Indies because I
No,
think you
no, no,
wanted to
it's fine.
mention
Not at all.
something. No, I think you wanted to mention something before that, or you were okay, or you finished your rant against the ICC.
I mean, I think it was all about the World Test Championship. It hasn't had
Yeah.
much relevance to other teams. I think it's helped the big three in a way because
That's true. India and Australia are number one and number two. So yeah, you're
yeah, I
right.
mean, Sid, I
Yeah.
mean, look at the amount of Test matches they play compared to other teams. It's too many. It's too many. So I mean, I'm hoping that's not the reason why India and Australia are getting so many Test matches. But I think it's
No.
also about television rights as well. I mean, last time we had a Border Gavaskar series, we had 4 Test matches, but now the Border Gavaskar is going to 5 Test matches. So this is the first time that we're going to have a 5 Test match series between Australia and India. This is going to be unprecedented
India.
stuff. So, I mean, you have to
Even
say
England.
it's
Even
down
England's
to,
gonna have a 5 Test series as well. So yeah.
yeah. I mean, just look at it. I mean, that is, I mean, that's insane. That's insane. England are going to be playing. They're going to play with India, and
Yeah.
they're going to play 10 Test matches against 2 oppositions, which is crazy, absolutely crazy compared to how much of Test cricket other teams are getting. So I'm just making the plight for other teams. And SA was one of the sides that had a big say against the big three in the past. I mean, they challenged the big three. I
Yeah.
mean, if you look at all the teams in the world cricket that actually challenged the big three, it was SA, especially in Test cricket.
Yeah.
I mean, that wonderful run between 2006 and 2015, winning all those Test matches away from home, winning in England twice, winning in Australia, I think it was 3 times on the trot, winning in Australia. I mean, that's a mean feat. So winning in Sri Lanka, drawing in India twice. I mean, that was a phenomenal team. So that was a phenomenal team.
Yeah.
One of the best Test teams we had in our generation. I mean, with the Australian sides of Ponting and Wah. And I mean, you have to go a little bit back. I think you're looking at the West Indies sides of the 80s and early 90s until they decline. So yeah, I mean, it's very important for SA to be a strong force in this game as well. And I hope the ICC looks into it and tries and redistribute these funds. So it's all down to money at the end of the day. I mean, if you have the money, you can host these Test matches. I mean, the only reason why the SA20 has been prioritized as opposed to not having 3 Test matches is because of money. I mean, you want to make more money, and I think if more money is distributed, there is more possibility that you can host Test matches. So I'm just hoping that does happen in the near future.
Yeah, but then I think even though the Test Cricket World Cup will be good in South Africa because we have good weather, and it will be. I don't know if we would be able to do it in South Africa because I don't know if SA will be able to host it. So my only solution would be either the ICC hosts this whole Test Cricket World Cup in that particular country, makes a plan, or either it's going to have to go to India then to host it, or England to host it, or Australia to host it. So that's going to be the sad situation where you're going to have only those top 3 teams that will probably be able to host it. So it is what it is, eh? But I would love SA to host.
I think you made a good point there. Australia is quite a good venue because if you're looking at pitches that can last 5 days, that can give you good contests, it's definitely Australia. So I would be happy if they could host us in Australia. I mean, I know it's difficult for us here in SA because of the time zones and stuff to wake up
Mm,
for those test matches. But I mean, we
mm,
would
mm,
sacrifice our time if it was a World Cup. So I think Australia would be a good option, eh? The pitches are good. The most important thing is the
mm,
pitches. The pitches
mm,
are really good
mm.
in Australia, so that could work in Australia, definitely.
I wouldn't mind it being in India, so at least India can actually finally host a Test cricket championship.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think Australia and India, definitely,
Mm,
because I think the weather as
mm,
well are pretty
mm,
good in those two countries as opposed to England, where
mm.
you do get rain from time to time. And I mean, we know all about the rain issues in the West Indies, and SA is a pretty good venue as well, Sid. I mean,
I
if you
would
look
love it
at
to be in
time
SA.
zones, I think it's a
Mm.
brilliant. I think SA is a brilliant venue to host these the
Oh
World
well.
Test. The what do you call it? The World Test Series or the World Test
No,
Championship?
no,
The
no,
World
no, no. I call it the Test Cricket World Cup.
Test Cricket World Cup. Okay, let's go for it. Test
Uh,
Cricket World Cup. Yeah.
yeah, I yeah, man, we need that. But hopefully, I'm sure if the ICC could fund it, I'm sure SA wouldn't mind. But I don't know if SA would really be up for hosting it. More because I don't think they'll be able to do it because of the finances. It's easy to host a ODI Cricket World Cup or a T20 World Cup, but now if you're hosting, I guess they could do it. I'm sure SA will find a way because it's you're hosting so many countries. Good for your branding, good for this, good for that. I think it could be done. So hopefully, if it ever happens, SA will be the first cricket nation to do it.
I think if you look at previous tournaments that SA have hosted, I don't think they've been a bad host in terms of hosting tournaments. I don't think SA have been a bad
Yeah,
host. They've hosted
they've been
very
very good.
successful tournaments. So there is no
Yeah,
reason why. And we've got a very big Asian population in this country, so that will obviously
yeah.
come up to those games and support. So
Hmm.
in that regards, definitely, I think SA is a good option.
Imagine
But as you say, we
if
can go
yes,
on and on, eh?
yeah, yeah. Imagine we've gone on for 51 minutes, but just to throw in one more, imagine India versus Pakistan in Durban. You would go and watch that.
Ooh, that's spicy. That's really spicy, yeah. That's really spicy.
Well, anyways, we can go on forever, but yeah, we've gone on for a while. So, yeah, I guess we'll catch up next week with hopefully SA beating West Indies in the first test, even though it is looking like a funeral draw. No, I shouldn't say that. It's looking promising. I mean, we're just going to bore them out in the first session, and the match is pretty much ours. I'm just being bullish from that point of view.
Yeah, fingers crossed. SA can get the job done against the Windies. Unfortunately, Mother Nature has played a spoiled
Hmm.
sport.
Hmm.
It is what it is. But yeah, hopefully the pitch does
Hmm.
deteriorate and we can get a result here.
And also, West Indies players are not the most temperamentally sound players, even with the bat, because if they're trying to save a game, they can't choke. So we have to rely on them choking as well.
Absolutely, definitely. And I think batting last is always going to be a challenge on any kind of wicket.
Okay, Ben. Great chatting to you, and we'll catch up soon, man.
Cheers, man. Chat
See
soon.